Hey, what's up, everybody? This is another edition of From Brother to Brother. On today's show, we're going to be talking about things that are really going on in the world that have pretty much overtaken the news. You know what I'm talking about. You've already seen it. You don't live under a brick. It's the NFL, the president, sports, how they intertwine, and how it's increased this talk of racism and classism and segregation in our modern world. Also, we're going to be talking about sologamy. Yes, it's a word. Sologamy, like polygamy, like monogamy, things like that. So the new trend is sologamy. You don't know what that is? We'll find out on another edition of From Brother to Brother. Hey, what's going on? Man, has it been a week from this time last week until now? There has been a lot of things that have transpired in a week. And, of course, things are moving at a rapid pace these days. The evolution of how social media has closely intertwined with society gives people instant access to up-to-date occurrences that happen automatically. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to wait for the morning paper. It's instantly at your fingertips. So likewise, controversy is on an all-time high because you see more of it than you normally have. So people, through that controversy, have a whole lot more to talk about, but they also interject themselves in the conversation more often. So you see a rise of anger. That's really what it is. It's anger. And hey, over this past week, from this time last week until now, we've just seen that boil over and intertwine two things that we would like to keep separate, which is sports and politics. In actuality, those are the most talked about things in our society, to be honest, other than money. But sports and politics, one of them you talk about openly and freely and have spirited debates about, sports, and one of them you don't really talk about openly, and if you do, you talk codedly as to keep cards behind your back as to what you're really thinking. But when you're together with like-minded people or people that you feel very comfortable with, you're very free to talk about it and have spirited debates with those people. So in this instance, it has brought those two topics to the forefront and to everyone's attention. And I just like to take a moment here to talk about the tragedy in Tennessee, if you didn't hear about that. In Tennessee this past weekend, a man walked into a church and he shot several people and injured those people while they were attending service on this past Sunday. So my thoughts and my prayers and my heart goes out to the families and the victims that were affected. And, you know, if you research it, you'll see what happened. You'll see the news reports, things like that. But no matter who it is, no matter what you're doing, no one should be subject to that. A house of worship, church, is the place that you should feel most comfortable and safe at, outside of your own home. So with that being said, we really have to, in this, it correlates. It correlates. The reasoning, I don't know. As to why he would go in and start shooting people, I don't know that reasoning. But in this time that we're in of a heightened sense of sensitivity, trigger words that they like to call it, and in a battle of ideas that cause people to be so enraged to a point to where they would literally physically harm another person over their ideas. At this boiling point that we're in right now, things like that could and possibly would happen. You just don't know. So as a Christian, number one, you should always be prepared to face any type of opposition against you. But also, as a people, as a Christian community, we should start lifting up in prayer more for the protection of anyone, including our families. But also, this is one of the things that I like to say is a Chinese proverb for crisis is either opportunity or downfall, basically. So when we look at a crisis, we can either think one or two ways, either a downfall or an opportunity. And right now, I believe it is an opportunity for the church to start to work and start to get ingrained with the community like never before, to start to show that after all of the arguments, after all of the rage, after all of the fights that we see, when you've ran out of options, or even before you ran out of options, you're constantly seeing a different side. You're constantly seeing, no matter what color we are, no matter what ideas we have about this country, those things are temporary. But at the heart of it, we are Christians, we are believers, and we are people that we are not only commanded, but we also, out of a heart, to stand unified. We stand unified with each other within the community of Christianity, and we also extend that love, that limitless love, out to other people who may not see it the way we do, because that is our call. Our call is to love one another regardless. So if you are a Christian and you feel like you were mistreated because you're accused of racism, or you're a Christian and you feel like you've been unjustly profiled because of your skin color, then you know that my automatic response is always love. It's always to forgive. It's always to be able to be in a position where yes, we do speak up against evil, and we don't hold back against that, but we also show the love of Christ in a manner that even though we see a person, we see their hurt, we see their pain, and then we provide a better option. You're just acting out of your hurt, your pain, and your ignorance, and we see a better option for you. So that's the responsibility of a Christian in this day and time, to have a response, to be prepared to face opposition, but also in the face of opposition, show the love of Christ. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it is one that we are called to do. So back to our original topic, which was sports and politics, and how that's created or accelerated this debate that we have, because it's all over the news, and they're just broadcasting, and they're feeding it to the mass society. To be honest, I think that the country as a whole does not deal with what the media puts out in volume. I do think that the country is at a tension point, but I also don't think that it is as bad as the media portrays it to be. That's just my thoughts. And all I can go off of is my community, what I see around me. And what I see around me is are people who do help each other, no matter what the skin color. They might have their quiet, and they might have their own preconceived notions that they keep them to themselves. That's always a possibility. I'm not negating that, but it's not at a fever pitch where we're seeing fights every single day. That's what I'm saying. Like the news constantly portrays. But in reality, this issue between the president and the NFL, it's brought about even more classism, racism, segregation. Not segregation in the terms of how it used to be back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, but a segregation of ideas. My idea of this country is far different than your idea of this country. So therefore, I only communicate and I only talk to people of my idea of how things should be. And I shout you down. I automatically knock you down for thinking any different than I do. So that's where we're at right now. You can't be free to speak your mind, because your mind is always going to be challenged. And ideas at large should always be challenged. I'm not overlooking that, but what I am saying is we seek to misunderstand far more than we seek to understand a person's perspective. So if we're setting our mind every day when we go outside of our house to misunderstand that person, then that's all we're going to get. We're going to get a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of confusion, and a lot of frustration. And that's all we're getting. And I look at how it's birthed. I have two little boys, and sometimes I'm fortunate enough to be able to take them to the playground, public playground, where anybody can go, public park, if you will. And as soon as they get to the park, their main mission is to play. But their second mission is to find other kids to play with so that they can have even more fun. And I'm amazed every time that sometimes they pick black little kids, sometimes they pick white little kids, sometimes they pick the Asian little kids, sometimes they pick the Spanish little kids. But their preference, they don't have a preference. If it's a little kid and that little kid, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, boy, girl, doesn't matter. If they're around their size, around their age, and they can actually communicate with them and talk to them, they'll play with them. They don't care. They do not care. They do not have any preconceived notions. And they'll just go off and they'll have just as much fun with anybody. So I see that and I say, you know what? It's not inherent. It's not within you when you're born. It's seeds that's been planted inside of you over time that have now attached themselves to your heart. And out of that, it's grown a harvest of hate. So we're far more responsible now because we are indoctrinating our kids with this terrible ideology that doesn't benefit anybody in the long run, because it doesn't advance a unity, a united mind of people. And to be honest, it's hindering the country, because at the end of the day, we all live here and we all gotta live here. And we gotta live among people. And I know, to me, quite honestly, I think it's a battle of ideas. I think that we look at it from a point of view where we say racism is at an all-time high, but to be honest, classism is at an all-time high as well. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, ideas would change if the money was evenly distributed out. There wouldn't be so much pressure in this area if there was a abundance of financial resources for everybody. Not to put everybody on an even playing field, because I don't believe in that, but more opportunity for the underprivileged. If there was more opportunity for the underprivileged to advance, and instead of the majority of the piece of the pie only being held by a few people, that it's more liberal and more spread out. I think that the things will. Well, I know things will be a lot different. But you know that A, that's never going to happen, and B, that remains to be seen. But my point is, it's all about what you put in your heart, but also what's been put in your heart from an early age, or as time has gone on, as you've matured. And there are a lot of things responsible for that. Life situations, family lifestyle, and what you consume as far as information. All of that has a part to play in forming your idea and your ideas about this country, about life, and about different races and different genders, things like that. But it's very, very unfortunate that it has to come to this, because there's actually no way, there's literally no foreseeable end to this, meaning there's not going to be an actual point where people are going to have this great epiphany and say, you know what, I actually do understand where you're coming from. Oh, I actually do understand where you're coming from as well. So let's get together and let's start making effective change. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's only going to get worse. And how do I know that? Because as a Christian, scripturally, this has already been foretold. If we read in Matthew, and if you take time to read the entire book, but specifically Matthew 24, it talks about these patterns of time, of the times that we live in. It says that nation will rise against nation, and government against government. Now, you might think that's the same thing, but it's distinctly different in the sense that government equals actual. In that day, it was kingdoms, but in this day and time, it will be countries. But nation is translated ethnos, which is ethnic group, which means people. So nation means people. So people will rise against people, and countries against countries. So that's exactly what we're seeing today, to the T. Wars and rumors of wars. We are having actual wars, and we're having rumors that war is on the horizon. And perilous times, earthquakes in diverse places. We're seeing things like that. So this has already, from a Christian perspective, been foretold in the Bible. And through that, we can see that things aren't actually going to get better before they get worse. It's actually the reverse. Things are going to get far worse before they get better. So this is only the beginning of things that are going to perpetuate into an even higher level. The responsibility of a Christian is to be that one that is secure in the faith, secure in what you believe, but you're also one that's willing to speak out in truth, in love, the gospel of Jesus Christ. That is the only thing that can save a man. So when we're being placed in positions, when we're actually in the positions where we're at, whether you're at work, whether you have your own business, whether you're just in ministry and you're constantly on the go, whatever you're at, if you're in school, wherever you're at as a Christian, you should be the light there. And that is your responsibility in this season. And I know I talk a lot about purpose, but that is the essential point of purpose. Is no matter what realm you're in, no matter what position in society you affect, the gospel of Jesus Christ should always be magnified in that position. That is the only reason you have that position. So when we see that and we understand that there's a greater responsibility on the church. And to be quite honest, what we see today is a dereliction of duty in the church. What I mean by that is we've sit idly by for so long that the world has now mirrored the church in this specific aspect, which is segregation, racism, or just segregation in general. I'm an optimistic person that believes that there might not be any racism in church. But hey, you know what? I choose to believe the best, period. So what I mean by that is there is no more segregated time in this country than on Sunday morning. You are intermingled at work. All nationalities are at your job, at your school, in your community where you live. The only place that we are extremely segregated is on Sunday morning when we're at church. That is a black church. That is a white church. That is an Asian church. That is a Spanish church, a Hispanic church. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then we wonder why things are the way they are, because we choose to not be in a place where we're actually finding a conscious unity in the church body, in the body of Christ, where we can understand each other. So, the whole point is what we're seeing now is unfortunate, but it's not like it has not been foretold. But what we also see is a greater responsibility for the church to rise up, for the body of Christ to rise up in the key positions that you play right now, and to be that light. So, now, transitioning from that, and just continuously, my thing is continuously, every chance you get, be the person that's diverting the conversation, if you happen to be in place of that conversation, to your faith and what you believe, so that you're constantly planting seeds. You might get pushback, you might get frustration, you might get people that don't like you, but hey, that's the job you signed up for when you became a Christian. But now we see yet another misdirection on the idea of values in this country as well, which is sologamy. Sologamy, SOLO. You get the rest. You get the rest. Sologamy, like monogamy, like in a relationship. So solo means self. So you're in a relationship with yourself. Like, so I was reading the news the other day, and I'm sitting here, and it's like, okay, sologamy is the new thing. Okay, what is that? That's when you get a whole bunch of people together, you get a wedding cake, and you have a ceremony to marry yourself. Okay, what? So now you're married to yourself. Your marriage certificate says Tiffany, whatever, is married to Tiffany, whatever. And now you're joined together as me? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So what happens when you find someone else attractive? Like, are you now cheating on yourself? Like, I don't. So when you go and they say, are you married or single? Do you say married? And what's your spouse's name? Me? Like, okay. So I'm going to get a loan, and now they need to know my spouse's income as well. Do I put my income twice? Like, there's a lot of questions that I want to know. There are questions that need to be answered that I don't really think that people have thought about long term before this happened. Like, whatever happened to just being single and just being good? Like, now I got to get a whole bunch of people together, spend a whole bunch of money, get a wedding cake, get some pictures taken, and get a wedding dress or get a tux for people to come see me, like, marry me. I don't even think you can do that. Like every argument is always going to be one-sided. Like, it's weird. Like, you're always going to win every argument. Like every agreement is going to be on your terms. It's weird. It's definitely weird. I don't really understand it, but it's a thing. Kind of like people marrying the earth. Like I didn't get that either. So people marrying trees. It's my point is it's crazy. That is pure craziness. Okay? It's pure craziness. It's like, just be by yourself. Just be by yourself and just be good. You don't have to make a grand statement that you're by yourself by doing any of that. But yes, apparently that is a thing. Sologamy is a thing. And it's a new trend. Big surprise. So I mean, wow. That is the case. But I mean, hey, have no words for that. But other than that, man, guys, just really be on guard. Keep watch. Continue to pray over your families. We're now a couple days away from October 1st, which means that the holiday season is right around the corner. Be mindful of that, and don't be shocked, because Christmas this year is actually on December 25th. Mind blown. So that means that you don't have to be surprised as to when Christmas is. So if you haven't already prepared or set aside, then you should start preparing and setting aside. I'm speaking to me too. But let's not let it be a surprise, which causes us to get into more financial strain. And don't go above and beyond. Let this be a season of giving, sincerely a season of giving, more than we take. We're going to be doing a lot of cool things on this show, starting in October. We're going to start talking to more people, and then start to find creative ways to give more. Give more to people that are less fortunate, but also giving and just sharing the love of Jesus Christ and being more active. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate everyone who listens in. I don't take that for granted. If you could do me a favor, my Instagram name is thatmanchanning, @thatmanchanning, all one word. If you go to my profile, click the link on my profile, and that'll direct you to Spreaker.com. Do me a favor. I really want to make this podcast more than what it is. Just click the link that says follow. And guys, I'm on a mission here. And to be honest, the mission is to get this podcast on iHeartRadio so that it can be in syndication. And all that simply means is that it's constantly playing 24 hours a day on that specific station stream so that it can be heard in more places than just this. And it's not for fame, it's not for fortune, it's not for any of that. It's because I choose to talk about purpose. I choose to talk about sharing the love of Jesus Christ. And I choose to talk about a more unified people. And I just want to be different than what's being pushed down our throats, which is constant hate, constant opposition, and just fear. I really talk about faith. I really talk about these things so that we can get more people to hear something different than they're always hearing. So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And those who will listen to this, do me a favor. Go to my page, click the follow button, but also share this with a friend who may need some encouragement, or who may want to listen to something a little different. All right. This is Channing Cohen signing off. Again, I thank you guys. I'll see you on the other side of your purpose. Be blessed. Sponsor for this half hour has been EverydayMothersIntuition.com. EverydayMothersIntuition.com is a company designed to encourage, empower, and educate expectant mothers, new moms, as well as experienced, offering books, classes, and knowledge-based information on all things motherhood. Everyday Mothers Intuition. For every season of life, there is a mother to help along the way. EverydayMothersIntuition.com. That's EverydayMothersIntuition.com.